and sent it to Michael Vick. And I just thought it was so profound. I read it in the LA Times, and he just said 2 words: be epic. And you know what he was saying to Michael Vick? I don't care what you did. You've overcome it. You went to prison. You've overcome this. You've done what you had to do. You paid the price. Now be epic. Live your life this way. Make a difference. I thought, how profound is that? Every one of you should need to write on a piece of paper, be epic, and put it on the dashboard of your car. Because that's the way we need to live our lives. And you all have the potential and the ability to do that. To be an impact player. Be the person that when the game's on the line, and there's 2 seconds left, and they're drawing up the chalkboard, that you're the one they're going to give the ball to. 9th inning, tying run on 3rd, you want to be up to bat. Because you want to be that impact person. Be that in your uplines, downline. Be that person in this group. Be the person that's having the strongest influence. Okay, the last part I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to jump to the next thing we're going to talk about. But I want to talk about your story. Okay, one of the things, we all have a story, right? We all need to learn to tell our story. And I want to talk a few minutes about that. There's a book called Tell to Win. And I want you all to write this down. I really want you all to read it. If you're readers at all, Tell to T-O-Win, W-I-N. It's by Peter, last name G-U-B-E-R, Goober. And it's a book about how to tell your story, about how powerful stories are to change lives. But most of us in Beachbody, we get in and we tell stories of our lives, but we just kind of start, we say, well, I was kind of overweight, and I had all this weight on, I lost 100 pounds, and now, nobody gets, it's like I was talking to Sarah, and I said, if you tell me you were 100 pounds overweight, sitting on a couch, when you saw Beachbody, my question is, how did you get there? That's your story. It's not just and if I'm in an audience or if I'm watching a video on YouTube or whatever you want to post, I want to know how you got there. That's your story. Because people don't just end up 100 pounds overweight sitting on a couch. There's pain and depression and things happen in their lives and struggle gets them to that point. I want to know that even when you've lost 100 pounds, you still see yourself 100 pounds fatter. We don't lose that in our minds. Tommy Migren was sitting in a meeting I did in Atlanta, and I asked Tommy, I said, Tommy, let me ask you a question. You all know Tommy Migren, most of you was on the video here. He's lost a ton of weight. You saw his before and afters. Incredible shape. Just a coach, go-getter kind of guy. I sit there and go, Tommy, let me ask you a question. Every day you look in the mirror, what do you see? He goes, I see a fat guy. Because as much weight as he's lost, here he still sees himself as fat. Because he has to overcome all the stuff that got him to where he was. Right? We don't just get over those things. I always say if people are overweight, it's not what they're eating, it's what's eating them. And that's a journey people get on. So when we tell our stories, we've got to let people into the story. And I don't mean you have to sit there and bury your soul, but I want to know why you got there. Because that, if I'm sitting in the audience, that's what's going to touch me. This book talks a lot about that. It says, stories take realities and through emotional transportation, leverage them into a much larger truth than facts alone can give. People say to you, tell me about Beachbody. Tell me about your Beachbody story. You know what we do? We bombard them with facts. Oh, it's this, and I use this Shakeology, and P90X is unbelievable, and we start beating them over the head, and we give them statistics, and we tell them our mission statement. That's not what they're asking you. What's your story? You have a story. What is it? Is it that someone came into your life and believed in you for the first time? Tell me the story that touches me emotionally. Tell me the story. It's like if somebody says to you, oh, I'm sad. Don't just tell me you're sad. Tell me a story that represents you being sad. That'll touch me. Especially if you're like I said, if you guys that do YouTube or you do videos for Facebook to tell your stories, or whether you're asked to by Beachbody or a briefing, and Hallie says, come on up and tell your story for a few minutes. You got to touch me. The formula for a story is feeling. You give them something to feel, give them knowledge, and give them a takeaway. That's what we need to do when we tell our stories. All of us need to develop our stories. What is the story of your life? What's one that's going to make me go, whoa? I've watched coaches as I started working with Beachbody, and they would do briefings, and I'd watch them. They stand up and just start talking about facts. All the trend is everybody's fat in America, and they start running off on all these facts and facts and facts. And I watch the people nowadays, and no one's connecting. I talked to Robert about this, and I said, how about this? I'm standing up doing a briefing, and I said, I see a lot of men here in the audience tonight. Let me ask you a question. Have any of you ever been in a place in your life where you just couldn't provide for your family? That you just, whatever you did, as hard as you worked, that your wife was working and she couldn't be with the kids, and sometimes at night when you're laying in bed, you just don't even feel like a man? Any of you ever been at that place in your life? Or just been so broke and there was nothing you could do about it, and it started affecting your character, and you felt hopeless? Have any of you guys ever felt that way? Now, when I say that, and I say, let me tell you how it made me feel, worthless. Worthless. No, not respected. Not cared about. Does anybody relate to that? Okay, if I open a briefing like that, some of the men in the audience go, they don't raise their hand, but that's me. That's me. Or, you know, if you ladies ever just had to go to work every day and drop your kids off at a baby care thing and go, what am I doing? I had this baby 6 months ago and now I'm dropping him off for an 8-hour period because I got to go to work. What does that feel like? See, that's, again, telling a story or creating emotion so that you can share your story with them. Let me show you what I found. I'll tell you how many coaches I have right now that aren't home with their kids because of this crazy business. So it's learning to tell a story with emotion. We are wired toward emotional overcoming much more than facts and figures. When people ask you about your business, get rid of the facts and figures. No one cares about how the compensation plan works. I'm sorry. They may tell you they do, and eventually you can tell them how it works. That's not what they're looking for. They don't care that there's a Ikapaka root in the Shakeology. I don't even know if there is, but I figured if I pulled a name, it has to be in there. No, but do they really care about the Ikapaka root that's in there? Or the kangaroo root, the kangaroo dung, whatever's in there. Whatever's in there, do they really care? Sort of, but not really. What do they care is, what has it done for your life? What's been the difference for you? What about my life is similar to your life and it's made a difference for you, so it'll make a difference for me? That's our story. You know, when I'm prospecting someone for Beachbody, it's like we go to P90X and it's like, oh yeah, you tried P90X, it's so unbelievable. Yeah, it makes you strong. Look at these muscles. Yeah, we're doing great. I gotta go to the bathroom. You know, and we're doing all this P90X stuff, right? And yet we're not connecting with them. We're not connecting. Say, I see you're working here. Do you work full time? Yeah, you have another job too? Wow, that must be tough on your family. It is. I never get to see my kids. Really? What's that feel like? As a man, doesn't feel good. Love to be coaching my kids, can't do it. You know what? We need to get together and talk. Because, man, when you told me that, that hurt me. I'd love to spend some time showing you some ways we could create some options. Something like that. But, I mean, we got to get it back to where it touches the heart and not just the mind. Okay? Point 3, turns me into we. When I'm talking to you, me has to become we. Nobody wants to hear your story. Yeah, well, I got a Beachbody. I lost all this weight, man. I'm making so much money right now. I'm crushing it. I'll be retired in the next 6 months. I've done this. I've done that. I'm going to be a 15-star dive. That's not me to we. Me to we is, let me tell you how I felt when I got in, and let me tell you how much it hurt, and let me tell you what I've been able to overcome. That's me to we. If we don't create me to we don't connect when we show this business to people. We don't connect when we do exposures. We don't connect when we're in front of an audience doing a briefing. We don't connect at a home party. We don't connect on our team Beachbody challenges until me becomes we. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. Let me show you what I found. Sometimes it's not even the words, it's listening. Like I talked about earlier. C.S. Lewis tells the story of his wife died. I don't know how many of you read C.S. Lewis, but he's one of my favorite authors. But C.S. Lewis, his wife died. They were madly in love, 50 years, incredible marriage. He talks about being at the viewing. It was in England. He was at the viewing. And all these people came in, and he was just sitting there in a chair by himself, sobbing, looking at his wife's casket. And all these people came in that were Christians with him, and they all gave scripture and told him, oh God, you know, she's in a better place. And all the things that you know, as Christians we think we need to say sometimes because we don't know what else to say. And so he just one after another was pillaging with all these answers of why she's dead. This one man came in, sat next to him, put his arm around him, held him as tight as he could and sobbed with him for 30 minutes. The man got up and left and never said a word. And C.S. Lewis in this story says, I will never remember one thing any of those human beings said, but I'll never forget that man for the rest of my life. That's all we are sometimes, you guys. It's just that person. You know what? We showed up. We showed up. If you keep